Hey guys, today we're going to look at a number of different guillotine grips to finish our guillotine chokes. We're going to look at why they exist in the first place and the best positions to set them up from and finish them. Alright, so the first guillotine that we're going to look at is going to be the high elbow guillotine. So we'll start setting this up from closed guard to start first. And this is going to be when I'm wrapping my partner's neck. I'm looking for a chin strap, looking to put my wrist right underneath the chin, and wrapping my thumb around the neck is usually our initial start of the grip. And I need my other hand to come in and grab over my wrist as if I'm hiding my watch. You can do this with an S grip if you need a little bit more mobility, but for the most part, we should be able to go right here. So I'm wrapping around the neck, my other hand's gonna come through, and I'm taking my elbow up high over my partner's shoulder as I go with this finish. When I sit, elbow stays up nice and high, crunch my knees, and I'll get the finish there. Again, we could look at using an S grip, which will give us a little bit more mobility. If we don't have the wrist dexterity to come here, we can go S grip, still get over that shoulder, and you can see how much further I can get my elbow over his back. Same thing, crunch in, and you'll still get the same finish. So the reason why we want to go to the high elbow instead of just grabbing our partner's neck and trying to squeeze is because if I take this grip and his arm is free, he's going to reach over my shoulder. Now he can start to pressure into my neck as he stacks up, and now he's free to fight the hands and escape. With the elbow over the shoulder, he's not going to be able to do that. He tries to go to that same defense, and he can't do it. So one of the best places that we can set up a high elbow guillotine is from a front headlock. Ideally, I would have my palm on my partner's chin, pressing his head into my ribs. My head's down low. I'm off with my knees, and I could get my hands together right away, but what we want to look is like a thumb post in the elbow, and then replace this thumb post with my shin. So as I sit in, I can pin that arm, get my hands together above his shoulder, and now when I sit back, it's the worst guillotine he's ever felt. So this next guillotine grip that we're going to go over is going to be the low elbow, which is when we're going to be pushing up onto like the pinky side of our hand with our elbows going down. Sometimes people will do this with their hands together like in a prayer shape, but you should be able to just go from your wrist, cupping your palm, bringing your elbow down for the finish. And the reason why this choke exists is if I wrap around my partner's head and I want to go for the high elbow, but he reaches over for that defense, I can't do it. I can save the choke by bringing my elbow down and then being able to press up for the finish. So if we look at this from closed guard situation where I've wrapped the head, but I missed being able to get to my high elbow, I can bring my hand down and be able to cut underneath the palm and the pinky and still be able to press through and save the choke by going low elbow. Where I wrap the head and he throws this over, I need to be really quick in whipping my hands into position. So as I go for the guillotine, I want to go high elbow, I miss it. I should be able to just snap into this low elbow and get the finish. So now we're going to look at the arm in variation of the guillotine. So again, we can just do this from full guard to start. And this is where I wrap the head and I also wrap over his arm. And we can go to the same watch grip that we use on the high elbow. Come here, grab our wrist as we sit back, and the finish should be exactly the same. I'm kind of on my side, I'm going to crunch my knees and bring everything in. The issue that most people have with this choke is that they will either stretch or they'll only compress. The secret to this choke is going to be that when you grab this wrist, that you continue to pull your arm all the way across. You're almost trying to get your elbow to your belly button.
So as I set the grip and I come down, I'm gonna tuck my knees in my head, but I'm gonna pull and twist to get that finish. An alternative grip for arming guillotine that's really strong is gonna be this pretzel grip, where I'm gonna go palm to palm, turning my hand upside down. So as I set in, I'm gonna go thumb down, palm to palm. Everything else is still gonna be the same. I'm still gonna pull, I'm still gonna crunch my knees, keep my head over his neck. But it generally feels pretty worse. Again, we can do this from a front headlock, where I've got my palm against his chin. And this time I'm over his arm. Maybe he's reaching like he's trying to finish a double leg. And as I have my hands together over the arm, again, you could go pretzel. I'm gonna be able to sit in, crunch, and pull for the finish. Another place that we can do an arm in guillotine is gonna be from half guard, where he has a half guard on me, and I'm gonna jump into the guillotine, but I'm specifically gonna use the pretzel grip variation for this. So as he's reaching up, and I dive onto the head, I wanna go to this pretzel grip, and if I stay here, I'm gonna risk getting swept and dropped on my face. So when I take the headlock, I need to sprawl this leg out and continue to sprawl it out to be as low as possible. And now in this position with his leg tangled, I can start to apply the pressure. And it's actually a very successful guillotine option from top half. Again, you don't want to get swept and rolled on your face. Very important that you sprawl as flat as possible if you're going to try and finish it from there. Okay, so next guillotine that we're going to look at is a guillotine from mount. So I can be in full mount. I'm going to be wrapping the head. And there's a number of ways that we can go about finishing this. Sometimes we can have our hand on the ground and pull and then just kind of hip in and get the finish. This is not the best way to do this choke. Likewise, we can sometimes push on the shoulder, which makes it a little bit less pleasant. Still also probably not the best way to do this choke. The ideal way to finish the mounted guillotine is that when we have the head wrapped, we're laying down on the ground with our head, and we're kind of taking this modified mount where we drop onto a hip. I can have my hands together. I can even have an arm in, or I can just have my hand on the floor. Any of those three variations is fine. The key to this is not going to be that I want to pull my partner's head up. Instead, the key is going to be that I want to take my back from being rounded to being arched as I slide this way and finish. I want to use my back muscles as opposed to my arms and just arch and take the finish there. Again, I can have my hands together. I can have an arm in. They're all terrible. So most often we'll end up in a mounted guillotine if we were to get a sweep when we're attempting a guillotine from guard, or if our partner was to roll. So if I saddled up and had a guillotine on my partner and they stacked up and I swept them, I'd be in mount. But again, to get the proper finish, I need to drop to a hip and then arch my back, as opposed to just pulling their head up. So this next one is sometimes referred to as a French choke. It's another arm-in guillotine variation. This time, my partner has their arm all the way across. Maybe this is off of, we were gonna set up an anaconda or something like that. But I'm gonna sit through to guard with his arm all the way on the other side of my body. Here. Now, if I just try to finish from this position, it's gonna be a little bit tough. Similar to the other arming guillotine, it's all about pull. And you'll notice that my grip, when I'm setting this up, especially from an anaconda, is actually gonna be palm to palm as opposed to grabbing the wrist. So when I sit through, if I have my wrist, I need to switch to palm to palm. If I have my grip palm to palm as if I was going to go to an anaconda, then this is the grip that I want to keep anyway. So let's say we were here, I sit through, I switch my grip. Now I want to pull my elbow back as much as possible to get the finish. If I secure this French choke super tight, he'll obviously tap out to the choke. If he recognizes the position before I can get the choke, his escape is going to be to slide to his back, extending the arm that's through all the way out. But when he does so, it's very easy for me to now switch to my back control and then begin my attacks from there. Okay, so this next guillotine variation is going to be called the high wrist guillotine. You can set this up as well from a front headlock. This time, I'm going to go as deep as I can with my choking arm in front of my partner's shoulder. Then my other hand's going to wrap over his arm and grab my elbow. From this position, I could probably finish the choke even in a front headlock, but we're going to sit as though we're going through to guard. However, it's going to be a little bit different. After I set my grip and I have my elbow, I'm going to sit to my hip and I'm going to put my elbow inside my knee like this. This is where I want to finish this guillotine. It's extremely unpleasant. So next we're going to look at the powered guillotine, which is really good if you have long arms because it'll hide your grips where they won't really be able to defend it too well. So if we're in a front headlock, I'm able to wrap all the way through as if I'm going to go for a high wrist, but this time I'm just going to take the figure 4 over the top, and again there's nothing really for him to grab at to try and defend this, and it becomes pretty easy to get the finish. The loop around their neck is a little bit bigger than some of the other guillotine variations. However, it's a very strong finish, even from guard. If I have long arms and I'm able to cut through to a figure 4, it's extremely unpleasant. So the next guillotine grip that we're going to go over is called the ninja choke. And this is going to be that when I have my partner in a front headlock, instead of wrapping with the same arm that his head is on, I'm going to swim the other arm through and I'm going to finish the choke this way. There's no real reason to go for this choking variation from a front headlock or from guard. However, had I gone for a regular guillotine and my partner was able to get past my legs, this is where I'd want to switch my grip to the ninja choke and be able to finish from side control. Where normally, if I had a regular guillotine grip, he would have passed my guard and put me in a Von Flu choke or broke my grip and I wouldn't have been able to finish. However, with the ninja choke variation, as he goes over and I swim through, I'm able to finish here. Very similar to a Mars variation of a Darce. So next we're going to look at the front choke, which is kind of an old school guillotine finish from a front headlock. In this case, I'm going to, again, have my palm against his chin. I'm going to bring his head to my chest as opposed to off to the side. And I'm going to have my hands together, both hands on the chin, making like a small V with my wrist. But now I want to be able to pull his head into my chest as I sit up. And now if I just kind of sit down, I'll get the front choke. Guillotine variation is going to be using a push grip, and this is going to be from like a front headlock, maybe more of a standing situation, where I wrap around my partner's head. This time I'm going to push the shoulder away and then wrap my hand over my wrist here. Push, wrap, and squeeze. All right, so this next guillotine variation that we're going to do is going to be from rubber guard, called the Hindulotine. This is going to be, once I've broken my partner down, settled into my rubber guard variation, I want to go to a meat hook grip, come up onto my elbow, and then be able to wrap over my own foot, get my hands together, and I'll get the tap there. Yeah, right?
That was brutal.
This next guillotine grip variation is called like a hook grip, which is when we just use our finger to grab our thumb of our choking arm. And this is all we can get to. We can't get to the wrist, we can't get to the palm, but we can just get our fingers together. This is when our partners kind of defended the rest of the guillotines. I was able to get to a headlock, but I wasn't able to get my hands together either in front or even for an arm in. There's space that he can't close off between his shoulder and his neck, so a space by his trap, where if I go palm up, get my finger to my thumb, I can still get a pretty decent guillotine choke just with that little bit of connection.